In 1906, 15 years after Slumach's death, a letter allegedly written by John Jackson, a prospector from San Francisco, California, began to circulate secretly, reviving the rumor that Slumach had found gold.
John Jackson, he'd heard the story about Slumach discovering the gold, and he went off into the mountains himself to look for it. And he wandered around in the mountains for about 2 months, and he came to the top of a sharp ridge, and he looked down. At the bottom he saw a river. As he says, the bedrock was littered with gold, big chunks of gold. He filled up his backpack and hiked out of the mountains, and he was actually found on the side of Pitt Lake after he had several weeks of toil walking through the mountains, and they found him on the shore of Pitt Lake. He was clutching his backpack and shaking, right? He had this backpack that he was protecting.
According to the legends, he returns to San Francisco, but he's dying. He then draws 2 maps and a letter of description, and he presents one to the nurse who attended to him, and one to an old friend of his by the name of Shotwell, living in Seattle. Neither of them tried to follow the instructions themselves. Both purportedly sold their maps and letters for $500 each. I've never seen a copy of either a map, but I have a photocopy of a letter that Jackson wrote to Shotwell, in which he describes the location. And Jackson, of course, dies. But since they've sold their letter, various parties have over the years claimed to have come into possession of the letters and the maps and to have chased the mine.
In the mid-1920s, yet another prospector landed near New Westminster, also determined to find the gold in Lost Creek Mine. Robert Allen Brown, also known as Volcanic Brown, already had a reputation.
He developed a taste for the legend of the Lost Mine when he actually got his hands on a copy of the letter, the Jackson letter, and the map, some say.
Over the next few years, from spring thaw until the first frost in the fall, Volcanic Brown explored the wilderness around Pitt Lake. It seemed to be a lucrative operation, and each fall he would return to town with small quantities of gold. People whispered that the old prospector had probably found the Lost Creek Mine.
He was an old man, and in one season he didn't quite make it out before the snow came, and he was walking across Stave Glacier, and his toes froze up, and he got frostbite in his toes, and he cut off his toes with his pocket knife and put a tin can on it and walked out. There's actually a really famous picture of him with the can on his foot standing in New Westminster.
On his final trip, he didn't come out, and a search party went in, and after extremely grueling circumstances, found his camp. They did not find Volcanic Brown. They found his camp, his shotgun, his effects, and a jar containing 11 ounces of coarse gold. Not free gold, but that had been hacked out of a vein. And so it leaves the question of whether Volcanic Brown knew the location of the Lost Creek Mine.
The disappearance and certain death of Volcanic Brown did not discourage other treasure hunters. Year after year, dozens of prospectors would head into the forests around Pitt Lake, each one determined to bring back Slumach's gold. They all came back empty-handed.
It cannot be found easily because the time frame when it is exposed is about a 2 to 3 week period because of the elevation. People walk over it. It's a hanging valley in a glacier.
Many treasure hunters are still combing the Pitt Lake Mountains in search of the lost mine to this very day. Everybody seems to have their own different location. I've been actually sworn to secrecy on many other locations besides the area where I think it is, right? Because, some of the people that have been searching for it are getting up there in age, and it's a really difficult country to get around in. It's very easy to get killed, right? As the legend itself testifies to.
Even today, many refuse to believe that Lost Creek Mine and the Albert Ostman encounter are anything more than myths. As long as men are willing to risk their lives exploring rugged territory in search of gold, wild rumors will continue to circulate about lost mines and strange encounters. Fantastic encounters, enigmatic disappearances, strange truths, and fabulous legends. Maybe someone can finally reveal the truth behind these extraordinary mysteries, and maybe that someone is you.